Welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining the CBI webinar on exporting fresh fruit and vegetable to Germany and the Netherlands. I am Thomas Vonk and I'm your host for today, and I work for CBI in the market intelligence team. Our presenters of today will discuss the market volumes, the trends, the opportunities and requirements for entering the Dutch and German market. But first, be aware that we can not see or hear you. So if you want to ask questions, you have to do that via the questions tab on the right of your screen in the menu. There's a question module where you can type your questions at any time. Please do that. This webinar will be recorded and it will be available to you in a few days. And you will also receive the presentations of our presenters by email later this week. Our agenda for today. So I will start with some opening remarks and give you a brief introduction on the activities of CBI. And then I will ask Michel Peperkamp to talk us about the fresh trade in Germany and especially the statistics and the volumes. And then Dana Chahin will tell you about the trends and developments and the impact the Dutch and German market has. There will be a short Q&A, so your questions that are asked in the questions tab will be answered then, or at least some of these questions. I don't know if you have time for all of them. And then we have a special guest, which is Kim. She's a senior global sourcing manager for the German company Butler, and she will talk about her experience and make recommendations for you. So I will introduce our presenters. So Michel Peperkamp, he's already for a long time, I think for 8 years already, writing market studies for CBI, especially for the fresh fruit and vegetable sector. And he's also an export consultant in fresh fruit and the food ingredients industry. So he's guided trade missions and helped fresh fruit and vegetable companies look for new European markets. And we have Dana Chahin. She's an international consultant, and she's also part of the team that writes CBI market information studies. So she's an international consultant, and she works as a fresh produce matchmaking consultant also for a German import promotion desk, and she's coaching companies to enter the European market. And as I was already introducing Kim, she's the guest speaker for today. It's always nice to have somebody who's actually importing fresh fruit and vegetables for a company. And so she will tell us her experience. Kim focuses in the procurement department. With her team, she ensures that several European retailers are served with avocados according to these unique specifications. Okay, these are the presenters that you will hear them very shortly. I will now briefly tell you about CBI. Our mission is to support the transition towards inclusive and sustainable economies. We strengthen the socio-economic and environmental sustainability of SMEs in developing countries. We do that especially by connecting them to the European and regional markets. So with this work, we promote and create decent jobs, and we pay special attention to women and youth. And we stimulate sustainable production and trade. With this work, we contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. At the moment, we can start new projects, new export coaching projects in these countries. A selection of about 25 countries, and mainly in Africa nowadays, some Asia and some Middle East. We're active in 13 sectors at this moment, and of course today it's all about fresh fruit and vegetables. So we have two big pillars at CBI, which are the expert coaching programs. And it's a 4-year expert coaching programs with individual training, coaching, market entry activities. And in these projects, we focus on sustainable production and we focus on export as a means to create jobs. We always make use of local knowledge in our programs. You can check our website to see what programs are running at this moment or starting soon. In our programs, we work with, of course, with the small medium enterprises and with small medium exporters and with international buyers in Europe, importers. We work with local NGOs and knowledge institutions, and of course with the business service organizations of the government. Then second big pillar of CBI is our market information. We make market information available for as a small medium enterprise in developing countries. They're all free. We focus our subjects on export to Europe. Our studies answer questions such as which countries offer most opportunities for a product or service, which channels should you use to enter the market in your sector, and which laws and requirements must you follow. I'm gonna take you to our website quickly to show you. This is our website. It's the market information website, and you can see here the sectors. So let's go to fresh fruit and vegetables. And then you see all the studies we have. So we have the sector studies, we have the tip studies, tips to find buyers, how to do business. We have all kinds of product studies, like apples and mangoes, avocados, blueberries, cassava. And of course, today it's about Germany and the Netherlands. So we have the country studies as well. And I can show you for Germany, the new study on Germany is published today, as you see. So we have one part on market potential with the statistics of the volumes of the market, and we have one part for the market entry. So I invite you to check these studies and see all about it. But today we're going to tell you something about it as well, what's in the studies. So I'm going to go back to Michel, and he will start his presentation. But before I will do that, I will start a poll. Let's see what the audience is now. So please, can you answer this question? Are you already exporting fresh fruit and vegetables to Germany or the Netherlands? And then you can answer. So you're doing well. You can see that already 60% has voted. Okay, I'll give you 10 more seconds, and then we'll close it. Okay. I'll close it and I'll share it. So you now see the results. Many of you has not yet exported to these countries, and 20% of you has already done some export to the Netherlands, and a small part to Germany as well. Okay, I'm gonna give the floor to Michel. Okay, Michel, can you already get your presentation up? Or do I have to?
I can try to open it, but I'm not yet. I cannot yet open it. I'm not a presenter yet, so.
You are the presenter.
Okay, now I can. Let me see. I'll open my presentation. So there it is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. So yes, today we're going to talk about Germany and the Netherlands and the fresh markets. Thomas already introduced us, so I will get straight to the point. The questions which we will try to answer today is all about the German and Dutch market, how they are developing, and which fruit and vegetables offer most opportunities. My colleague Dana will also tell you a bit more about the trends in these markets, and maybe most importantly, also what you have to take into account to become suitable suppliers for these markets. So let's get to the first part, a bit more about the statistics, the numbers of these markets. I will start with some global figures and then zoom in a little bit more in both of the countries. So if you look at Europe as a market and you look at the imports, the input values, then you can see that Germany and the Netherlands are actually overall the biggest importers in Europe, in particular for fruits, but also Germany imports a lot of vegetables. So considering this, these are quite important markets in Europe. So these are numbers, these are values that concerns the import of any origin. So there's also a lot of internal European trade, of course, as well. So it's an important region, and I want to point that out also with some of the next slides.
Michel, yes. Can I interrupt for a moment? We only see half your screen.
That's not good.
It's the left half we see.
That's interesting. Let me try to fix this. Okay, this should be better, I think. Or not? No. Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, this is okay. And if you put it in presentation modus now, yeah.
Now it's better. Okay.
Now it's better.
Really sorry about that. That's a problem I haven't encountered before. So anyway, let's have a look at the total markets in Europe. If you talk about Germany and the Netherlands, we are talking about 1 million consumers. 33 million in Germany, 17 million in the Netherlands. So basically, this is a big part of Europe in terms of potential consumers. The total number of inhabitants in Europe is 450 million, so 100 million of that number lives in these two countries. And you can see on the picture, it's quite a concentration of consumers here. So that also means that you will find a lot of logistics in this area. I pointed it out on a map here, but I will get into it in a little bit more detail. Basically, what you see here are the three biggest cargo airfields, as well as the biggest ports for container shipping. And this is an area from which a lot of fruit and vegetables can be re-exported to surrounding markets. A lot of exotic fruits come into Rotterdam and the Netherlands, for example, and then being shipped to Rougy in Paris, a big wholesale market. But also a lot of fruit and vegetables go from Germany and the Netherlands up north to the Nordic markets, as well as to Eastern Europe. So you have to take into account that these countries also are also the ports into further Europe. Talking about the ports, so 2 out of the 3 biggest ports in Europe are actually based in the Netherlands and in Germany, which is the port of Rotterdam and the port of Hamburg. And the second port, largest port, it's Belgium, which is just south from the Netherlands. So these are important hubs for fresh fruit and vegetables. And if you look at air freight, then you will also find the airports of Amsterdam and Frankfurt, which handle quite a bit of cargo from all over the world. Also, the Netherlands is also known for its fresh trade by air. It also does a lot of flowers. So there's a lot of logistics that is really well developed for fresh fruits and vegetables as well. Just take into account that flying fresh fruits and vegetables is becoming less required due to sustainability reasons, which are obvious. But still, I wanted to point this out. So let's have a look at some trade flows. If you look at Germany, of course, there was a lot coming in from non-European suppliers. You can see the big orange arrow that represents 3.3 billion euros of fruit coming into Germany from outside of Europe. What this doesn't really represent is the re-export or the transit cargo that goes through the Netherlands to Germany, because that's included sometimes in the imports from non-European countries. And for vegetables, you can see that it comes mostly from nearby countries. So there's a lot less import from outside of Europe. But for fruit, Germany depends quite a bit on other countries outside of Europe. Looking at the Netherlands, what I wanted to point out here is actually the import and the re-export to Germany, if you look at the Dutch statistics. So the Netherlands imported in 2022 4.2 billion euros worth of fruit, and more or less half of that was re-exported. Half of the value was re-exported to Germany. So this is quite a lot. This is not something you see in the German statistics, but you will see it in the Dutch statistics. And of course, the Netherlands is also a big supplier of vegetables to Germany, but a lot of vegetables are actually grown in greenhouses in the Netherlands. So only more exotic vegetables or really off-season vegetables come in from out of Europe and are then sometimes also exported. So these are a little bit the trade flows. If we zoom into the country statistics, for Germany, you can see that the main origin is Morocco, and it's actually growing quite rapidly. And then you can see, for example, Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, those are typical banana countries, a lot of banana exports. Of course, also some other products like pineapple from Costa Rica, avocado from Colombia, but it's the banana export that makes these countries big in their value. And of course, South Africa, there's a lot of grapes, citrus. So if you look at the products that Germany imports from non-European origin, then yes, banana is the biggest one. But also grapes, avocados, and berries are big import products for Germany. So if we look at some interesting facts in Germany, it is actually the #1 importer of bananas, which also means that a lot of retailers that do bananas, basically every retailer does bananas, but they also set a sustainable example in that trade. So actually, some of the first initiatives to paying a living wage to producers is coming now from German retailers. And in total, they imported about 1.3 million tons of bananas in 2022. So that's quite a big volume. So sustainability is a big thing. Also, the organic markets. Germany is the largest market for organic food products. And my colleague Dana will tell you a little bit more about that part of the trade. As you could see in the numbers, Germany uses a lot of the Dutch logistics. So if you look at the re-export of the Netherlands to Germany, then you see a big volume of bananas, grapes, avocados, and oranges. Some of these products are imported as off-season products, but also a lot of products like avocados or bananas we cannot produce in Northern Europe, so they come from outside. I think Germany is also a very good market for berries. I think German people they love they love their berries, and they prefer to buy them as close to home as possible. So if in Germany there's no production, it will come from Spain, it will come to Morocco, from Morocco, and only if there's no other option, then they look for suppliers further away. So yeah, on one side, I think the German market demands supply from nearby, but on the other hand, a lot of times they don't have an option, so they have a strong dependence on imported products. And as you can see, for example, also for tomatoes, the production in Europe, in the Netherlands, in Spain was not as big as it used to be. Of course, there are rising prices for gas, so greenhouse production in the Netherlands has become quite expensive as well. So you can see a growing import from Morocco in tomatoes, which actually increased by 50% in 2022. So if you're interested in the German market, I would definitely say try to visit the Food Logistica. If you've never been there, it's the biggest trade fair for fresh fruit and vegetables. And you will find a lot of the buyers, not only from Germany, but definitely also from the Netherlands, you will find there. So that's a tip I would like to give you as well. So if we go then to the Netherlands, then we see actually suppliers from a bit further away, which are most dominant, which are Peru, South Africa, for example. So this is typical for the Netherlands. The Netherlands is really a trade hub for exotic fruits, for tropical fruits. So there's a lot of business going on with countries all over the world. Import values are growing, but that's due to two reasons. First one is, of course, inflation. So costs are rising, logistical costs are also increasing. So that pushes up the value. But in the end, in Europe, we also need more and more fruit and vegetables from the world with increasing populations. So if you look at the products, then you can see a wide variety of products being imported in the Netherlands and through the Netherlands. And avocados, grapes, bananas, those are all well, products that have significant values in the trade. And actually, a few interesting facts. The Netherlands is actually the third biggest exporter of avocados in the world, without even producing a single avocado. So this shows a little bit the position of the Netherlands in the logistics and in the trade of some of the products that come from countries further away. So a lot of companies, they use the Netherlands as a trade hub. They use the specialized logistics. So I think the German and the Dutch market are quite a bit intertwined. There are a lot of big companies that use these specialized logistics, including big companies like Chiquita Banana. They use a dedicated port in the south of the Netherlands for all the banana trade. So whole ships with bananas, they come through there. But also, for example, the German retailer, one of the biggest discount retailer, Lidl, a few years ago built the largest ripening facility in the Netherlands for several tropical and exotic fruits. So this shows a little bit the importance of the region. And of course, it's also a main entrance point for exotic fruits. Even buyers or importers in Spain, they would sometimes still use a logistical route through the Netherlands for the most exotic fruit and vegetables. So if you want to know a little bit more about the Dutch market, but also about the European markets, that's another tip I would like to give you, to use Fresh Plaza as a source of information. They publish a lot of news on companies, but also market updates on day-to-day basis. And of course, for more let's say, more overview information about the markets, then of course on the website of CBI you can find a lot of the studies that we provide. So yeah, this is my part of the presentation. I think Dana can walk through a lot of trends and developments on these markets. Thomas, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Michel, for your interesting part of this presentation. I will give the floor to Dana for her story about the trends.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you should all be seeing my screen, right? Okay, well then, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are joining us today from. My name is Dana, as Thomas and Michel already presented, and today I'm going to talk to you about the main trends and developments that are impacting the Dutch and the German demand. To start this, I want to show you first some numbers on where do Germans and also Dutch buy fresh fruit and vegetables. So right now you're seeing in the screen some numbers for Germany. And I think the main message when you look at this graph is that you see a very big and strong domination or concentration of purchases in discounters. So here we have some chains that you might have heard before, for example, like Lidl or Aldi or Penny or Netto. And then you see that, yeah, this donut is complemented also by some percentage with supermarkets and hypermarkets. We see in Germany a lot of supermarkets that are concentrated only on organic products, I think this is something that Michel mentioned a little bit before in his presentation. But I think the main message that I wanted to share with you, and it's related with the first trend I want to talk about, is that for German consumers, quality is very important, but price as well. So it's a very demanding market in terms of prices. It has a very high price sensitivity. And if we look at the numbers for the Dutch, we see something very similar. This is a different data source, so we don't have exactly the same disaggregation as the last graph, but we have here a similar trend because almost 80% of the purchases of fruit in the Netherlands is done at supermarkets, at the retail chains. Here we have in the Netherlands the largest supermarket chain, Albert Heijn. We have Jumbo, and we also see that discounters, the same we saw in the previous slide, like Aldi and Lidl, are also increasing their market share over the past years. So what happens is that when the fresh fruit and vegetables market was still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, then inflation pressures arrived. And then this added to this existing price sensitivity that we had even before the pandemic, or even before the Russia-Ukraine conflict, that caused an increase in prices and caused, of course, also some changes in the behavior of consumers. What happened is that consumers started then also to focus their purchases, to focus on the essential purchasing, and we still don't know for sure what this is going to mean in the long term, but it can be that some product categories maybe that are more associated with high cost or like with luxury products might be more affected. So here in the screen, just to summarize this trend of inflation, you're seeing some screenshots of headlines in specialized newsletters for the sector. So you see actually what we saw in the screens before. The discounters are dominating the German fruit and veg scene. And you see here that consumers are tightening their belts, it's what the headline says, and they are cutting consumption of some fresh produce. Yeah, we see a similar message here with Albert Heijn that announced, or there was a news in Eurofruit at the beginning of this year, announcing that the supermarket will offer even lower prices. Yeah, they are expanding the range of products with special prices or discounts. So this is important to have in mind because these are markets demanding in terms of quality, but also in terms of price. However, the fact that we have to find a balance and have an efficient price, so to say, doesn't mean that sustainability is something that we have to sacrifice on. And actually, as Michel mentioned also in his part of the presentation before, you can see that Germany is actually the country that is leading sustainability in Europe. We saw that Germany is actually the largest consumer market in Europe. We saw that the most influential retail chains have a very strong presence in Germany. And this means also that they have a big influence then in the common standard. Yeah. So if a supermarket in Germany decides we're going to start demanding or requiring certain certification from a certain date, yeah, maybe at the beginning it's one retail chain, but what is going to happen is that slowly all the other retail chains, especially in the Northern European market, are going to follow this trend. Yeah. In the Netherlands, what happens? Well, they also have to adhere and they also hold high standards because, as we saw also in the data before from Michel, this is an important hub for countries like Germany. Yeah, it means they also, having this role as re-exporters, have to adhere to the high standards since they are also putting a lot of these products in the German market. We have some examples, and actually I think Michel talked about it as well. There's, for example, the German Retailers Working Group on Living Income and Living Wages. It's actually a joint initiative of leading supermarkets in Germany. They got together in order to address this important topic of living income and living wages. Initially, this is something that started with bananas. So all the efforts and all the measurements that you can see right now regarding living income and living wages are mostly concentrated in the value chain of bananas, but it doesn't mean that this is not going to move to other products. And this is actually what you can expect in the next years, that there's going to be that buyers are going to be more interested in how you are paying to your workers. Are you securing a living income, a living wage for the people that are working at your company? So this is something to keep in mind. And the message here is Germany is actually leading those initiatives in Europe. And the second example, it's CFAB. You might have heard of this initiative, and if not, CFAB is the Sustainability Initiative for Fruit and Vegetables. This is actually a membership-based initiative, and what they look for is to contribute to a more sustainable supply chain of fresh produce globally. Why is this linked to this title of the slide, that Germany leads sustainability? Because when you go and check who are the CFAB members, you are going to see that the majority of the members are from Germany and from the Netherlands, and many of them are importers or retail chains. They are being actually the ones that are driving change in terms of sustainability in Europe. So this is what you're going to expect also when you deal then with German buyers or also Dutch buyers. Linked to CFAB, I wanted to show you these two graphs that they are actually available at their website. They developed a CFAB basket of social standards and a basket of water standards. And here you can have a look at what are the standards that are being used or the standards that actually the members of CFAB have committed to have. So their suppliers have to be certified under one of these independent standards or certifications, third-party certifications. So my recommendation, because you might ask, okay, there's this strong focus on sustainability, what can I do? Then start getting familiarized with these standards, with the CFAB basket of standards, because a reality is that actually the way for you as a supplier to show that you are meeting environmental and human rights requirements that are actually becoming more and more strict every year, every month, the best way to show that you are compliant, with this is certification. Yeah, this is something that is actually on the rise. In every trade fair, you listen about a new certification that you might require. So it's important that you keep an eye on this, that you talk to your buyers and also ask what are the requirements of their end clients, and that you can start them preparing to show your compliance. Yeah. Very brief here. Actually, yeah, we saw that there are some actors, for example, the members of CFAB that are driving sustainability changes in Europe. But this is also something that is actually being driven by consumers and at the same time by legislation. Yeah, you can see a lot of regulation in Europe, new regulations that are actually want to ensure that sustainability is not a trend but becomes the norm. So this graph on the right side that you're seeing refers to the European Green Deal, which is this ambitious plan of the European Union to become carbon neutral by 2050, I think it is, and to be a leader in this transition to a sustainable economy worldwide. Yeah, here for us it's very important the farm to fork strategy that actually wants to reduce a lot the use of pesticides in the agricultural sector, and also that wants to increase the land for organic production. Yeah, so this is not only something that the people that are doing the law in Europe want, but as you can see in this last bullet point, consumers also want the European Union to stick to its current level of ambition in terms of food sustainability. And sustainability is important for consumers. This is something that really influences what they buy at the supermarket, what they eat, etc., etc. Yeah. Okay, so now we have seen two main trends, so the inflation and price sensitivity, sustainability, and this is also the third one, something that Michel also referred to, and it's the preference for local and regional produce. You can see here in the screen some pictures, for example, of strawberries grown in Germany, or apples also grown in Germany. You see the same headline I showed you before, but now I want to emphasize on the second part, which says more discounts, more local produce. And you see this headline referring to Albert Heijn, that actually stopped flying in fruit and vegetables at this year, and from June 2023. What happens? Does it mean that you don't have a room in the market? Does it mean that then there's nothing you can do because they prefer local and regional produce? No, I think also we talked a little bit about it before in the presentation. There are many products that still Germans want to consume all year round, but there's now not production all year round. So what you can do, for example, is to identify what is the right window for your product. Yeah, when is the time when that product is not in season in Europe or in Germany? You don't want to compete with the local production, but then you can see which is the best time for you. Another important thing is that you start working together with your buyers, and also with different organizations that are also involved in research to develop transport alternatives to air freight. Yeah, air freight is actually, you see a trend of descending preferences for air freight, and then working on developing these transport alternatives is something you can look at. And also, it's good that you highlight how you are offsetting your carbon footprint, what is the social impact that you're having in your community, the work that you are doing, because this is something that also a German consumer will be interested to know. Yeah, if I am buying a passion fruit from Colombia or an avocado from Kenya, I want to know also what the fact that this product is being grown in that region, what does it mean for the people that are living there? Yeah, so this is something that is going to help you offset this trend of preference for local produce. And last but not least, we can see maybe this as a threat, the fact that European production is preferred, but in some cases, this will also actually impact positively the export of your product. We see, for example, that Spain started producing pitahaya, and then there were a lot of marketing efforts linked to this, so that people in Spain and also in other European countries knew what pitahaya was. Yeah, and then when the season comes, when the season ends in Spain and it's your turn to export the pitahaya, people in the European market will be already more familiar with the fruit. So this is also something good, and it's a good opportunity for you to be aware of this. So it's not only a threat, but it's also an opportunity for you. And then the last trend we wanted to talk about is the importance of the organic market, both in Germany and in the Netherlands. Right now, we are seeing this graph for Germany, and it actually summarizes the organic food retail sales in the last 5 years. You can see that there was a decrease between 2021 and 2022, and this was actually linked to the inflation pressures that we talked about before. But maybe you cannot see it very, very clear here, but you see that the only category that actually grew in this graph was the food retail. So it means that actually people were buying more organic fruit, but mainly in supermarket chains or in one-stop chains or discounters. And this is actually the channel that is expected to continue growing more. So again, this is linked then also to the price sensitivity issue, meaning people want to buy organic products, but they also want to buy them at a good price. Yeah, but you see this decline, but we saw also this year, 2023, we don't have the data here, but based on conversations also with industry players, we see that the market started to recover again, and that there are no clear signs of a fundamental shift away from organic food in the coming future. This is going to continue increasing, and we actually can see that in 2022, the sales of organic products were higher than in pre-COVID times. Also, some encouraging statistics here is that when you look at the source, at some statistics of organic products, you see that over 50% of the organic products that are imported in Europe are coming to the Netherlands and to Germany. So a third of that is coming to the Netherlands, and almost 20% is coming to Germany. Yeah, you see that it's higher here, again, because of this re-export role that the Netherlands has. And we see market shares that are actually interesting for organic products. We see in the Netherlands a total market share of organic products of 3.3%, and in Germany we see 7%. And when we compare these shares are, for example, in Scandinavian countries, these shares go up to 10 or 12%. So you see that these are anyway interesting markets, and in terms of people, it's the largest market. Germany is the largest market for organic products. Market shares for organic fruits and vegetables are even a bit higher than the total share for all the organic food. So this is also something good, because it shows that it's one of the products that people want to buy in organic quality. So this is it from my side. In this slide, I just summarize these trends we talked about, and actually they all go together. Price is important, sustainability is very important, organic is a trend that is going up, and there is a local preference for products, but it doesn't mean you will be out of the market. You need to find ways to show that your product then is sustainable despite coming from not nearby origins. Yeah. So if you have questions, I think I give the hand again to Thomas, and we see if we have some questions so far.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Yeah, we have some questions so far. So first question I want to ask to you is from Musa. She wanted to ask about the packaging of vegetable and herbs. Can you talk about it? Is there is a sample also possible? So where can she find more information? You talk about the packaging, the trends in packaging.
Mm-hmm. I know we are actually updating a study on fresh herbs. So probably, Michel, also you have good information about this. I think you're muted now.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Yes, I think it's a difficult one, because on one side we need packaging for a lot of products like fresh herbs. But on the other side, you see a trend that especially retailers, they want to, or they try to reduce the amount of packaging, especially plastic packaging. So on one side we need it, on the other side, there's a trend that says, the less the better. At the moment, for fresh herbs, for example, most fresh herbs will be packed in plastic, but not in small packages. They usually repack a lot of herbs in Europe. So it will come in boxes with plastic liners or plastic bags, bundled together. But if you can offer a better way, more sustainable packaging options, that's definitely a good way to interest European buyers, because that's the way that we have to go. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the main message. Like, there's this wheel for sustainable, so less plastic, but also shelf life is important. So yes, you have to find this balance. Also, I don't know also where the herbs are coming from, if they're being flown or maybe by truck from Morocco, but this is something you need them to investigate, no?
Okay, thank you, Dana. Then there's also the question, I believe so it is, but is the global gap, is it really needed to enter the European market?
Yes, that is a sharp yes. I think without global gap, the possibilities of placing your produce, no matter which fruit, which vegetable, in the European market are very, very low. Maybe you can find still a couple of importers that would have some channels or some places to put the product, but it's really becoming the norm to have the global gap certification. That is the minimum. So it's no longer a differentiation, but it's almost a requirement.
Yeah,
especially in the Northern European market like Germany, the Netherlands, it's retail dominated, and retail, that means a global gap. I think only if it's a really good market for exporters. So if there's a lot of demand, but there's just not enough supply, you know, there are moments that you can get away without global gap, or maybe for the most exotic fruits going through wholesale channels, it will be a bit less important. But in general, I totally agree with Dana. In general, you need it 100%.
Okay, thank you. Then Shiva from India is asking what the ports of entry are in Germany, especially in Germany, for air freight as well as for sea freight, probably. The main ports of entry. Where the border,
I think it's
included
in one of my slides. Air freight Frankfurt is a big port, as well as Schiphol and Amsterdam. But you really have to look at the most direct connection. So if you don't have a direct connection, that can be a risk. But that's also the same for shipping. Look at shipping times, the best lines. If it's faster to ship to Hamburg, you can go through Hamburg. If it's better to Rotterdam, which is the biggest port in Europe, then use that port. But also look at the connections that you have from your country.
Yeah, because also to add on there, the fact that you have a German client doesn't mean that you have to send to a German port. Many, I think Michel also mentioned, many Germans use Dutch logistics, and they actually prefer that it's sent to Rotterdam, because many of them are also located maybe not close to Hamburg, but closer to the border with the Netherlands, so it's easier to transport from the port to their facilities. And so yeah, it really depends, as Michel said, on the transit times, and also on the preference of your importer. It doesn't matter if it's German or Dutch.
Okay, thank you. Then we do like 2 more questions, and then we go for the last part of the presentation, and then we go to the questions again. This question is, which vegetables from Africa will be interested from Ethiopia and Kenya besides beans and peas? So what are the main vegetables for Europe that come outside of Europe? Are there any other interesting besides beans and peas? Probably from Michel, who's in the statistics the most.
Yeah, it could be several things. Chili peppers could be a good one, but it is a niche product.
Maybe sweet potatoes as well, or they're not?
It could be.
Depends where you're aiming for. Where you're aiming at. Sweet potatoes is really big from Egypt, so that will be a major competitor. If you look at really herbs, that you look at more the small production, like a greenhouse sort of production. Then yeah, herbs is definitely another one. And all small vegetables that cannot be grown in Europe in winter. So a lot of more tropical-like vegetables, could be even some aubergine types. But yeah, some of the vegetables we can grow almost year round, or we import it from countries like Morocco, like tomatoes, like bell peppers. that would be less interesting for a country like Ethiopia, I think. So really focus on the tropical vegetables.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks. So last question for this round, and then we'll try to answer the other question at the end. You told us that the retailers are really dominant in Germany and the Netherlands. And there's a question from how could an exporter sell to supermarket chains? What is the way? Maybe my addition to that, is there another way? Are there other channels, or is it really you need to focus on the supermarket chains?
I think Kim will talk a lot about that in the next part.
Okay.
Yeah, but normally there are dedicated suppliers that are serving the supermarket. So in very, very exceptional cases, I think there are, or no cases, there is this direct buying from the supermarket. There's always an importer that is specialized in being a service provider for the supermarkets. So that is, I think, the best way to open the floor for Kim.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
And if you want to add something now, Kim, you can also.
Yes, I think the most difficult part regarding retail is that there are some further things that are coming into this whole calculation. Like, for example, for some fruit, you have to do some ripening. For some fruit or vegetables, you also have to do some packing, some sorting, etc. And that's, of course, not really possible to do that from the origin. And that's why the retail is usually going over a service provider that is doing all these services from them. So your best chance is basically to go to these importers that are actually focused on retail clients, I would say.
Okay, great. You're probably going to tell us a bit more about that, Kim. So I'm going to give you the floor now for your part of the presentation.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to make Kim the presenter, and she's from Bretzler, who's a European sourcer.
You should see my screen now, right?
Yes.
Okie dokie, perfect. Well, so as Dana said it so nicely, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are right now. First of all, thank you so much again to the CBI team that I'm, well, able to talk in front of you at the moment. I actually have a big passion for new origins and for enabling people to access markets. So I'm really excited to be here today. As Thomas already introduced me in the beginning, my name is Kim, and I work for the company Bretzler & Co., which is a German importer of avocados and mangoes. I'm gonna go into that a bit further right now so you understand that a bit better. I like to say that I kind of tend to understand the problems of exporters at least a bit, and all the pains and everything that is really coming with it. Because, well, we as Bretzler & Co. belong to the ASICA group. Like that, we are kind of like a vertically integrated company because we're not only an importer here in Germany, but we're also a service provider for the retail and also a grower of fruit. As mentioned, I work for the importing part, so I'm responsible for the strategic buying of avocados, for example. In Holland, we have actually our hub that is responsible for the ripening, packaging, everything that I just mentioned, which is called Fruit Salute. And our European sales entity is called ASICA Europe BV. And as I mentioned before, we are also a grower of avocados, grapes, and mangoes in the origin of Peru. There we have 1,000 hectares that we're taking care of. And yeah, like that, we kind of understand all the struggles to kind of like access the German market and the Dutch market and what that basically comes with. So yeah, I'm gonna go into that right now already. I wanted to talk a bit about my experience as an importer and basically what that comes with. So first of all, let's talk a bit about the market characteristics that I'm getting the impression of the German and Dutch market. So what we see at the moment, or generally when we look at the market or when we look at some exporters, there are definitely some challenges. And the biggest challenge that we usually see is that some exporters are getting started with the exporting process to Germany and to the Netherlands before actually really knowing what the market or the customer demands. And that's really unfortunate, because that could, like, this missing knowledge could then lead to some bad results, which could then lead to some discouragement. When I'm talking about bad results, for example, you're not meeting a certain specification, like for example, you did not pack in a certain way the customer wanted it to be. This will then cause some repacking costs or some outage or whatever, and that then leads to price reductions and, yeah, as I said, to discouragement, which is of course not great. So to sum that up, from our point of view, most issues basically start with, on the one hand, missing market understanding or knowledge. So also regarding the market mechanism and all that, then the missing knowledge about the requirements of the actual market. So on the one hand, of the European market as a whole, on the other hand, now specifically talking about the German market and the Dutch market, and also the missing knowledge about specific requirements your customers might be having, because on the, maybe they're a spot market trader, so you need to fulfill some specifications there, or for example, they're serving retail like we do at Pretzler, and then you have some completely different specifications there. So in the end, it's super crucial to have all this together and to gain this knowledge before starting the actual exporting process. So for us, when it comes to, we kind of like try to sum up the main topics on the German and the Dutch market. And we came up to basically like 4 main topics. The first topic was just addressed before. That is the topic of certification. Generally the European market, but even more the German and the Dutch market, are having basically the highest standards all around the world when it comes to certification. I'm not only talking about Global Gap, unfortunately. As Dana mentioned before, Global Gap is basically like the bottom line. I'm talking about further certification, like social certification, for example, like a GRASP, or higher social certification like a SMETA or Rainforest Alliance, Fair Trade, etc. And now in the past couple of months and years, also further certifications came up, like for example sustainability certifications, like for example the Global Gap add-on Spring, or yeah, they are also partially, for example, integrated in some other certifications like the Rainforest Alliance. Furthermore, depending on who you are actually targeting, who you actually want to serve, also packing house certifications like BRC, IFS could then be more and more important. So generally, certification is a very, very big topic. I know it's also a very, very big investment, so that's why we'll come later to that. It's very, very important for you to know in advance who you want to target. So the second point that I want to address here is MRLs. I don't know if everybody's familiar here with MRLs. So MRLs are actually like the maximum, it's like the maximum allowance of substances. So for example, like pesticides, fungicides, heavy metals, etc., on a certain product. So your own, like when you export to the European market, you're only allowed to have a certain value of a certain substance, of, for example, pre-harvest or post-harvest substances on this fruit detectable. All the Dutch and German importers are doing lab analyses on a regular basis because they have to do it also for their certifications, but also retailers are doing that in the meantime, so it's becoming more and more important. Third point is qualities. Also, that has been mentioned by Dana before. Especially the Dutch and German market are super sensitive when it comes to qualities. So that is definitely something to have in mind when it comes to exporting the fruit to these markets. And then the fourth point, depending on the commodity that you want to export to these markets, is the competition. So it's really important to know a bit about the market mechanism of the European market or the German and Dutch market in general. So when is it smart to send the volumes? So you, of course, don't want to send your volumes into a super crowded market. So I'm talking a bit with my avocado glasses on. So for example, in the high season of Peru, it's always smart for other origins like Kenya, Tanzania, etc., to reduce the volumes a bit and stay out of that in order to, yeah, have the best returns. Okay, so from our point of view, the key to success in order to succeed on the Dutch and the German market are 2 points. And it actually sounds easy, but there's much more work to it. So on the one hand, you have to be really prepared. On the other hand, you need knowledge. And you can gain this knowledge by doing all things basically step by step, talking to people, informing yourself, talking to certification bodies, to importers, etc. Like that, you can agglomerate all this information and basically succeed on the market eventually. So what would my recommendation for your market entry be? As I mentioned before, within the group, we are also an exporter. So before we started exporting to Germany and to the Netherlands, we were asking ourselves so many questions. And that's important because you need to have a really, really, really waterproof strategy in order to succeed on this market. So basically, the questions that I mentioned right here are only like basically the tip of the iceberg. You need to ask yourself more than that. But these questions are very, very crucial in order to succeed. So who do I actually want to serve? Do I want to target the spot market, or do I want to target more like retail customers? Do I want to serve traders, or do I want to serve ripeners or people that are actually packing the fruit, that are sorting the fruit? All of these questions, depending on how you answer them, will have different specifications. So you will need to take a look at different things. So for example, if you want to target ripeners, your fruit has to be for example, now I'm talking again about avocados. It's always an easy example. If you target ripeners, you need a minimum dry matter in order for the fruit to ripen well. You need a very stable fruit so it doesn't develop any diseases like anthracnose or something like that. So you need to ask yourself all these questions. If I want to serve retail, I need certain certifications, and I need to take care again of MRLs and all that. So if you ask yourself all these questions, you have set up a nice strategy, you now have this beautiful ladder to success. So first of all, the base of everything is to meet the European requirements. When it comes to MRLs, when it comes to certification, when it comes to the UNECE, so the norms of qualities. Then, if you want to target, for example, spot market traders, you probably will have specific customer requirements like certification and all that. And then I like to call it the last step is the master class, which would then be retail requirements. I call it the master class because there is most effort within this step, and there's actually really a lot to do in order to meet that. And yes, we'll come to that also now. So as I mentioned before, when it comes to European requirements, you mainly have to look at 2 things, which would be the UNECE, so general quality requirements, like, for example, minimum weights, or what amount of skin damages are allowed, or yeah, basically all these things, like certain sizes of fruit or vegetables and all that. And then the second point is the MRLs. So you have, as mentioned before, these maximum allowance of pesticides, fungicides, heavy metals, and you cannot go above that if you want to serve the European market. If we're then gonna have a little add-on, if you wanna target like specific customer requirements, so for example, the spot market, there will be 2 additions. Generally, on the one hand, the packaging. So for example, your customer will tell you, hey, I want this label. I want to have it in 4 kg. I want to have it in 10 kg. I want to have it in 5.5 kg. So it really depends on what they actually want, and you really need to listen closely to that. And then this, the second point, which comes on top of the already existing European requirements, would be the certification part. So what does my customer actually want? Does he want me to have like a basic social certification like Global Gap Grasp, or does he want like a higher social certification like SMETA, Rainforest, etc.? And then again, to the topic of masterclass, retail requirements will add on at least 3 further steps, which would be specific MRL percentages. So you already have in the European requirements the MRLs, which has a maximum. Retail will only allow a certain percentage of this maximum. So there's, for example, Lidl, who would only allow 33% of the European MRL. So that makes things, of course, trickier. The second point would then be the topic of higher social certification, and depending on the product, also a certain kind of sustainability certification. So depending the retailer, they will demand certain certifications, as mentioned before, Rainforest Alliance, Meta, Fair for Life, Fair Trade, etc. And sometimes, so for example, for avocado, a lot of retailers nowadays are also demanding a sustainability certification for water management. And the third point for retail requirements, which is also super important, is full traceability. So at each point during the packing process, a retailer would reserve the right to gain full traceability on your whole process. So where did this pallet come from? Where was it packed? When was it packed? Who packed it? And all that. So you need really structured processes in order to answer all these questions. So basically, to sum all that up, in order to target retail, you need the best qualities with the highest certification, with the best lab results to the most competitive price. And that's, of course, where the whole calculation is a bit difficult and a bit of a mess. So yeah, it's hard, and we definitely understand that. And I wanted to end with some examples of the customers that we are actually serving. So for example, when you're going to Aldi, when you want to target this customer, they demand Global Gap, a higher social certification like SMETA, Rainforest, etc., and a sustainability certification like Spring. They demand 80% of the European MRL and full traceability like every retailer. Lidl, for example, demands Global Gap and a higher social certification, preferably Rainforest Alliance. I believe they have probably 70 to 80% of their produce in the shelves already switched to RFA. MRLs are 33% of the European MRL, which is very low and very challenging, and also here full traceability on the process. And Edeka, for example, also demands Global Gap and a higher social certification, and the MRLs are 50% of the European MRL. Also here, full traceability on the process. So those are just some. This is just a very brief overview of some of the customers that we are serving and some of the things that we are seeing day by day. So in the end, what would my final piece of advice be to you? First of all, you need a waterproof strategy. Secondly, you need to gain all the knowledge you can have. And then thirdly, don't rush it. Do the things step by step, piece by piece. And then I think if you have the patience, if you invest into the necessary steps, especially with time, you will be able to succeed on the German and on the Dutch market. Yeah, and that's already it from my side.
Okay, thank you, Kim. That must be a very valuable information for our audience who's targeting the German market. They have also heard there are a lot of requirements for these markets. So we have a lot of questions and many questions also about one specific product or like very general questions on requirements. I probably, because we have a lot of questions, I advise them to visit our website and check for the products on our website. I saw some questions about grapes. We have study on grapes, which it discusses by requirements the markets. Study on dates, which is in processed fruit and vegetables, on our website. We have studied on coconuts and mangoes, of course. So that's for some of the questions I already see. But there's also more than one people asked for the, especially the group of tropical fruit. What other tropical fruits are growing, are interesting for the German market? Besides probably the main ones as avocados and mangoes. I think you're on mute, Kim. You're on mute.
Yes, so I'm very specialized on avocados and mangoes. I did both products, and those are of course very interesting. Also, when it comes to, for example, mangoes, you'll have of course a lot of different varieties from a lot of different countries of origins. Same for avocados. So for avocados, you of course have the Hass avocado. You also have tropical varieties which are now coming into production. So that's basically what I can say. I think Michel and Dana probably have more to say regarding more out of the scope of avocados and mangoes.
Yeah.
I think Europe offers a market for basically any type of fruit and vegetable. But to get a really good view on the volumes of each product, then maybe it's best to check out the study on market statistics of the sector on the CBI's website, because there we mention all the products that you can imagine, and then you get a bit of a feeling of the volume of the market. But yeah, like Kim says, there's a market for a lot of things. But yeah, one is of course bigger than the other. But I would focus on the studies.
It also depends on the country you wrote us from. Yeah, but maybe to answer specifically, some examples of other tropical fruit that they don't compare in volumes at all with avocado and mangoes, but you see opportunities for pomegranates, for passion fruit, for physalis, in very niche markets still, but expected to grow, for pitahaya or dragon fruit. So it also really depends where you are and what your country has. Yeah, there's also opportunities in citrus fruit, so limes, lemons. Yeah, so good advice, the one that Michel gave, but just to give you some examples to the question.
Yeah, I think some retailers they actually have assortments of very exotic types of fruits, but then for some products you could also look at wholesale markets and really specialized outlets. So if you look at, for example, tree ripens mango, which is flown in by air. This is not a product that you see often in the Dutch or German retail or supermarket. That's more sold in the small shops, small street shops that are really specialized on those products.
Okay, thank you. I have a question asking, since air fried will be discouraged, what will be the alternatives for us here in Kenya? First of all,
I think that highly depends on what you actually want to sell. So I, for example, know a lot of Kenyans that or some canyons that are doing some flowers. For flowers, like for example roses, air freight will never be like abandoned or something, because it's just simply not possible to do it by sea freight. But for other products that are holding the transit of like 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how it's going on the vessel, the best option and the most, of course, cost-effective option is, of course, always the vessel through, I believe, Maersk. So, yeah, depends on the product a bit.
So, and are you, Kim, as an importer at a company, already discouraging air freight? Or?
Depends on the product.
Depends on the product and the price.
Depends on the product, the price, and the customer requirements. So we have a couple of customers that actually don't appreciate air freight. For example, in Switzerland, there are a lot of harsh opinions regarding that. And we, for example, are dealing with tropical avocados. So this product holds best through air freight. So that would be the best option. So they are out for that product, for example. Some other customers are basically like, I want the same, like the best qualities that you can get to us. So please invest into the air freight. It really depends, but I would say that most retailers, as Dana said before, are now on the sustainability train, which then leads to a movement that, if the product allows it, is not really like it does not really want air freight.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe I've seen examples of companies in developing countries partnering also with universities, with research to test, if the product will survive or not. And I think these kind of things you need to start doing them to prepare for that moment, if it comes, where really no air freight will be accepted. But I see that this is something that is of the interest of the buyers when they hear, oh, that we are working on sea transport, for example, for pitahaya. It rings the bell. It changes the attitude. So
another thing which I can maybe add here, because that's a really good point, Dana. For some fruit or vegetables, there's already there are already some sachets, for example, in use that are blocking the natural ripening of some fruit and making it have a longer shelf life through transit. So if you're, for example, not sure about the shelf life of your product and if it will survive transit, you can maybe do some storage tests with sachets. There are several companies all around the world that are offering that. It's really small bags that you put into the crate that you're shipping, and then it's basically an ethylene blocker, and the ripening of the fruit or the vegetables will be hampered for sure.
I think a similar technology is there for avocados, which is like a coating for avocados that protects the fruit also from dehydrating. So that could be an option to look into. But I think from Kenya, you will have more difficulties to ship to Europe than some of the other origins of avocado, because the transit time is just a little bit longer. So really look at the best routes as well. Sometimes it's better to ship to Spain because it's a direct route, and you save a couple of days on the shipping. So really look at transit times and try to protect the fruit as much as possible.
Thank you. So we're already past time, but let's do a few more questions and then close it for today. There's a vegetable farmer from Nigeria. They heard Dana talk about the trend in Germany and Holland for local produce, especially vegetables, local vegetables. So what are still the opportunities for a vegetable grower from, for example, Nigeria?
Yeah, I mean, there is this preference for local and regional produce. What I would suggest is that you check this vegetable that you are producing, if it's also produced in Europe, in which time of the year, and evaluate then if there will be an interesting window for you. Anyway, I think it's good to say that most of the vegetables, when imported from abroad, are coming from Egypt or Morocco or like northern Africa. But yeah, we also see pumpkins being brought from Argentina, from South Africa. So I really don't know if from Nigeria as well, if it's a place where this would be an opportunity. But yeah, I think just check the production windows in Europe and see if there will be an interesting window for your product. I don't know if you want to add something, Michel.
And maybe also check your competitors, because I mean, for all the fruits and vegetables, we already have a lot of different suppliers, and I think a lot of importers, they look at the seasons and they choose the best country at the moment. That's why they work with different origins. But I think you really have to see where you fit in. If you have a comparable season to another country, you know, see which are your competitors as well. So not only when Europe is not producing, but also when you can compete with your product.
I can recommend, and I think it's in the study that was launched, published today of Germany, but I can recommend the seasonal calendar that IPD, the German Input Promotion Desk, has. It's a program similar to CBI that is also promoting exports from developing countries to Europe. And they develop a seasonal calendar with a list of a lot of fruits and vegetables. So you can look there if your vegetable is there and have an idea. I think it's in one of the tips of the study, so you can look for it, or directly in the IPD website.
Thank you. Okay, then maybe one more question that's probably interesting. If price, we see price is an important factor in Germany and the Netherlands. How can, as a producer, exporter from outside of Europe, how can you negotiate a good price?
Kim?
Good one.
We're looking at Kim now, but
Well, that's a very good one, because yeah, as I mentioned before, the calculation is a difficult one. It's a really, really difficult one for both parts, actually, for the importer and the exporter. Just talking from an importer perspective, yes, the prices of the German market are definitely very, very, let's call it, competitive, especially of retailers. So in order to do that, honestly, I can only recommend to you to, I don't want to repeat myself or sound yeah, super repetitive, as I said, but the most important point in order to secure good prices for you would be to really have market knowledge. And to, on the one hand, you need market knowledge. You need to understand how the market functions. So as I mentioned before, like avocados, for example, have a lot of ups and downs, and you will never negotiate a good price during the Peruvian season. That's for example, facts. So if you have the ability to time your season, so for example, I know that some African producers like Kenya, Tanzania, they have the possibility to do so. Then time your season according to the windows where there's no oversupply on the market. Then you usually have a lot of room in negotiation. So that's my first advice. The second advice is build long-term relationships with importers, with people you actually trust. I will not lie, there are definitely some importers on the market that want to get the best price and will not work with exporters again. That's why it's important to maybe start with a test load, and then see how it's going. Is it a ripoff or not? If it's not a ripoff, build on it. Trust each other, help each other out, and like that, you will build a really healthy long-term relationship that is beneficial for both sides, even though the market is so competitive.
Yeah,
I agree on that.
I think, yeah, me too. And I think with the long-term relationship, sometimes it really depends on how the importer works, but there are also some cases where they work with more stable prices. So maybe in the season where the prices are low, you won't get as low as the market is, but also in the season where the price is super high, you won't get as high as it is, but then you will have some stability throughout the year. And it really depends on the type of partner that you look for, because not everybody work with these stable prices. Only, yeah, mostly if you are with supermarket programs, then you have this stability. So yeah, it depends on the type of client as well.
Yeah, I would add not to trust any offer you get from an importer, because there are also importers, they promise you a high price, but then if the market is not good enough, they will never get that price, especially if they don't have a retail program, if they buy spots on the spot market, or if they sell on the spot market. So really look into your buyer as well. In the end, the market determines the price. It's not your importer even. It's all about demand and supply. So I think your partner, your importer, if you work together, he will have to defend the price, and he will have to try to get the best price for the product. So it's actually something you have to do together. So yeah, find the right company to do that.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna end this webinar for today. I wanna thank you all for your input today. I think it was very interesting. We get to the conclusion that it has lots of opportunities, these markets, but it's not easy. You have to have a good quality of product. You have to comply with the European requirements. Very important, you have to build relationships with importers, and you have to have find a good production window to get good prices, and finally you make sure you get knowledge of the market. And so that's a good thing to close. You can find more knowledge on the market on our website, cbi.eu, and we'll hope to we all wish you a good business, and see you next time in our next webinars. Thank you all. And so the presentations will be sent to you if you're registered, and also this recording will be on our YouTube channel, CBI NL YouTube channel, where you can also get it in your own language with the software of YouTube. So thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.